It's a huge event featuring Lakewood Church pastor Joel Osteen and his wife Victoria. Before he arrived in New York, Osteen paid a special visit to the Vatican, where he met with Pope Francis.
Pope Francis has finally broken his silence on Joel Osteen, and his words are sending shockwaves through the Christian world. For years, these two high-profile figures have represented vastly different approaches to faith. While Osteen's prosperity gospel focuses on wealth and personal success, Pope Francis has championed humility, simplicity, and service to the poor. But what exactly did the Pope say about Osteen and his controversial teachings? And how did Osteen react to this bold confrontation? Pope Francis's critique of the prosperity gospel. Pope Francis has been a strong critic of the prosperity gospel, a belief system that teaches faith and generosity will lead to material wealth and personal success. For Pope Francis, this message is not only misleading, but also harmful, as it distorts the true essence of Christianity. His critique of this movement is rooted in his commitment to humility, social justice, and care for the poor, values he believes should be at the heart of the Christian faith. The prosperity gospel, popularized by figures like Joel Osteen, promises blessings in the form of wealth and success to those who have unwavering faith and give generously to the church. While this message has attracted millions worldwide, Pope Francis sees it as a pseudo-gospel that shifts the focus of faith from selflessness to self-interest. He has warned that this approach promotes individualism and greed, making Christianity seem like a transactional relationship with God, where blessings are rewards for material contributions. Pope Francis's life and leadership stand in stark contrast to the teachings of the prosperity gospel. Known for his humility, he has consistently rejected luxury, opting for modest accommodations and simple living. He has dedicated his papacy to serving the marginalized, advocating for social justice, and addressing global issues like poverty and environmental destruction. For him, faith is about love, mercy, and service, not personal gain. One of Pope Francis's strongest critiques of the prosperity gospel came in 2018, when he warned against equating faith with financial success. He argued that this mindset alienates the poor, making them feel as though their struggles are a result of a lack of faith or divine disfavor. This, he said, is far from the message of Jesus, who taught humility and compassion for the less fortunate. While Pope Francis acknowledges that wealth itself is not sinful, he believes it becomes dangerous when it is seen as the ultimate proof of God's blessings. By preaching that material success is a sign of faith, the prosperity gospel undermines the Christian mission to care for others and serve the poor. In a world where wealth often defines success, Pope Francis's critique serves as a reminder of the deeper values of faith, humility, love, and a commitment to helping those in need. His message challenges Christians to return to these roots and reject false promises of prosperity. Pope Francis's call for authentic Christianity. Pope Francis has consistently called for Christians to return to the roots of their faith, humility, compassion, and service. He believes that authentic Christianity is not about wealth, power, or status, but about living a life of love and mercy toward others, especially the poor and marginalized. His mission is to remind people of the simplicity of Christ's teachings and the importance of putting others before oneself. One of the key aspects of Pope Francis's vision for authentic Christianity is his focus on humility. From the very beginning of his papacy, he has rejected the usual luxuries associated with his office. Instead of living in the grand apostolic palace, he chose to stay in the modest Vatican guest house. He wears a simple iron cross rather than a gold one, and frequently uses public transportation. These decisions reflect his belief that leaders of the Church should lead by example, staying humble and approachable. For Pope Francis, authentic Christianity also means putting faith into action. He has encouraged priests and bishops to smell like their sheep, meaning they should be deeply involved in their communities and connected with the struggles of the people they serve. The Pope himself has demonstrated this by visiting slums, washing the feet of prisoners, and advocating for the poor and oppressed. His hands-on approach shows that Christianity is not just about words or rituals, but about real, meaningful acts of love and kindness. Another part of his message is a strong critique of selfishness and greed. Pope Francis has been vocal about the dangers of materialism and has condemned systems that prioritize profits over people. He has also criticized movements like the prosperity gospel, which suggests that faith can be measured by financial success. According to the Pope, this kind of thinking distorts the message of Christ, who taught humility and sacrifice. Instead of focusing on personal gain, he urges Christians to prioritize helping others and building a more just and compassionate world. Pope Francis's call for authentic Christianity is not about rejecting tradition, but about renewing faith in a way that is true to its core values. He encourages Christians to live simply, serve others, and care for the planet, reminding us all that the essence of faith lies in love, mercy, and a commitment to doing good. His message challenges believers to look beyond themselves and embrace the true spirit of Christianity. Joel Osteen's Prosperity Gospel. Joel Osteen is one of the most famous televangelists in the world, and his message of hope and positivity has attracted millions of followers. At the heart of his ministry is the Prosperity Gospel, a belief system that teaches faith, positive thinking, and acts of generosity will lead to both spiritual and material blessings. Osteen's message resonates with many people searching for encouragement, but it has also drawn heavy criticism for its emphasis on wealth and success. The Prosperity Gospel presents a faith-based formula. Trust in God, think positively, and give generously, and you will be rewarded with financial prosperity and personal achievements. Osteen's sermons often focus on themes like living your best life or unlocking your full potential. His best-selling books, such as Your Best Life Now, reinforce these ideas, promising readers that faith can help them achieve their dreams. This message appeals to many because it provides hope and a sense of control over one's circumstances. However, critics argue that the Prosperity Gospel distorts the true meaning of Christianity. Traditional Christian teachings emphasize humility, sacrifice, and service to others, particularly the poor. In contrast, the Prosperity Gospel focuses on individual success and material gain, which some see as contradictory to the teachings of Jesus. For instance, Jesus famously told a rich man to sell all his possessions and give to the poor, a message that stands in stark opposition to the lifestyle promoted by the Prosperity Gospel. Joel Osteen's own wealth has become a major point of contention. He lives in a lavish $10.5 million mansion in an upscale neighborhood, owns luxury cars, and reportedly has a private jet. While Osteen claims his income comes from his books and not from the church, critics argue that his ministry and personal brand are deeply intertwined. This wealth has led some to question whether his teachings are more about financial success than spiritual growth. The Prosperity Gospel also came under fire during events like Hurricane Harvey in 2017, when Osteen's Lakewood Church initially delayed opening its doors to flood victims. Critics saw this hesitation as a failure to act in accordance with Christian values of compassion and service. Furthermore, controversies over Lakewood Church's use of taxpayer-funded COVID-19 relief funds have only added to the skepticism. Joel Osteen's message inspires many. It also raises important questions about the role of wealth, generosity, and faith in modern Christianity. His Prosperity Gospel offers hope to millions, but challenges the traditional values of humility and service that form the foundation of the Christian faith. Contrasting lifestyles. Pope Francis and Joel Osteen are two of the most well-known figures in Christianity today, yet their lifestyles couldn't be more different. Their choices reflect their beliefs and values, offering a sharp contrast between humility and simplicity on one hand, and wealth and material success on the other. These differences have sparked debates about what it really means to live a Christian life. Pope Francis is known for his humble and modest lifestyle. From the moment he became pope, he rejected many of the luxuries traditionally associated with the position. Instead of living in the grand apostolic palace, he chose a modest suite in the Vatican guest house. He uses a simple iron cross, not a golden one, and prefers public transportation over flashy cars. His choices reflect his commitment to living simply and staying connected with ordinary people. For Pope Francis, leadership is about service, and his life reflects the values of humility and compassion that he preaches. In contrast, Joel Osteen's lifestyle is defined by wealth and luxury. The leader of Lakewood Church and a prominent figure in the prosperity gospel movement, Osteen lives in a $10.5 million mansion with 6 bedrooms, 5 fireplaces, and even 3 elevators. His previous home, worth nearly $3 million, was also a symbol of luxury. Osteen has made millions from his best-selling books and television broadcasts, and his financial success has become a hallmark of his ministry. He often emphasizes positivity, personal success, and material blessings as rewards for faith and generosity. These contrasting lifestyles highlight a deeper divide in their beliefs. Pope Francis advocates for a Christianity rooted in humility, service, and care for the poor, emphasizing the spiritual over the material. Meanwhile, Osteen's prosperity gospel suggests that God rewards faith with financial success and personal achievement, a message that appeals to many, but has also drawn criticism for focusing too much on material gain. While both men have inspired millions, their lifestyles raise important questions about what it means to live according to Christian values. Pope Francis's simplicity serves as a reminder of the teachings of Jesus, while Osteen's success shows how faith can be used to inspire hope and ambition. Ultimately, their contrasting lifestyles reflect 2 very different interpretations of what it means to follow the Christian faith. The 2014 meeting at the Vatican. In 2014, an unexpected meeting took place at the Vatican that brought together 2 very different religious figures, Pope Francis and Joel Osteen. This meeting was part of a delegation promoting interfaith dialogue and unity, and it gave the world a rare chance to see the leader of the Catholic Church and a prominent televangelist with opposing spiritual philosophies in the same room. While the meeting seemed warm on the surface, it underscored the stark contrasts between their values and missions. Joel Osteen, a megachurch pastor known for preaching the prosperity gospel, expressed admiration for Pope Francis during the visit. He praised the Pope's efforts to make the Catholic Church more inclusive and welcoming. Osteen described the experience as humbling, noting the historic significance of the Vatican and the grandeur of St. Peter's Square. He even attended a Mass and shared his amazement at the Pope's ability to connect with thousands of people as he greeted them warmly from the Pope-mobile. On the other hand, Pope Francis maintained his usual calm and composed demeanor. Known for his humility and down-to-earth personality, the Pope appeared kind and gracious during the meeting. However, it's hard not to imagine that beneath his polite exterior, Pope Francis was reflecting on the differences between their approaches to faith. Joel Osteen's message of wealth and personal success as a sign of faith stands in sharp contrast to Pope Francis's focus on simplicity, humility, and serving the poor. While Osteen seemed deeply impressed by the Vatican's magnificence and the Pope's presence, the meeting may have served as a quiet moment of reflection for Pope Francis. Osteen's prosperity gospel, which promises material blessings in exchange for faith and generosity, is fundamentally at odds with the Pope's teachings that emphasize caring for the less fortunate and rejecting greed. The meeting itself was cordial, but the differences between the 2 leaders became more evident in the years that followed. In 2018, Pope Francis openly criticized the prosperity gospel, calling it a pseudo-gospel that distorts Christianity by focusing on wealth and individualism. This critique seemed to resonate with the tension underlying their 2014 meeting. The Vatican encounter was a fascinating moment in modern religious history, highlighting 2 opposing interpretations of Christianity and sparking debates about faith, humility, and the role of materialism in spiritual life. Pope Francis's defense of the poor. Pope Francis has always been a strong voice for the poor and marginalized, making their struggles a central focus of his leadership. From his early days as a priest to his time as Pope, he has consistently lived out his belief that Christianity must prioritize helping those in need. His defense of the poor is not just about words, it's about action. Long before becoming Pope, Francis, then known as Jorge Mario Bergoglio, earned the nickname Slum Bishop for his work in the poorest areas of Buenos Aires. He didn't just preach about helping the poor. He was present in their lives, visiting slums, sharing meals with struggling families, and doubling the number of priests serving in these communities. This hands-on approach defined his view of faith as something deeply tied to compassion and service. When he became Pope in 2013, Francis chose to continue this mission. He took the name Francis in honor of Saint Francis of Assisi, a saint known for his love for the poor and his rejection of wealth. From the start, he rejected the lavish lifestyle of previous popes, choosing instead to live in a modest guest house and use public transportation. This simplicity is not just symbolic. It is a message to the world that faith should not be about power, wealth, or privilege. Pope Francis has also been a vocal critic of economic inequality and systems that neglect the poor. He has called for fairer economic policies and condemned a culture of waste that puts profits above people. In his encyclical Laudato Si', he highlighted how environmental destruction disproportionately harms the poorest communities, urging global action to protect both people and the planet. One of his strongest critiques is directed at movements like the prosperity gospel, which suggests that financial success is a sign of God's favor. Francis argues that this distorts the true message of Christianity, making the poor feel abandoned by God and turning faith into a pursuit of personal gain. Instead, he insists that faith should inspire selflessness, love, and a commitment to justice. Through his words and actions, Pope Francis has reminded the world that defending the poor is at the heart of the Christian mission. His leadership challenges everyone to look beyond their own comfort and to care for those who need it most, showing that true faith is about serving others. Osteen's response to criticism. Joel Osteen, one of the most prominent preachers of the prosperity gospel, has faced considerable criticism throughout his career. His message, which emphasizes positivity, faith, and material blessings, has drawn both praise and skepticism. While millions are inspired by his sermons and books, critics often highlight contradictions between his teachings and his luxurious lifestyle. Osteen, however, has been quick to defend himself and his ministry whenever controversies arise. One of the major criticisms Osteen faces is his immense wealth. Living in a $10.5 million mansion and owning other lavish properties, Osteen has been accused of promoting materialism under the guise of faith. His response? Osteen insists that his wealth comes from his best-selling books, not from Lakewood Church, where he claims to have stopped taking a salary since 2005. Despite this, critics argue that his platform, and therefore his financial success, relies heavily on the resources and reach of his megachurch. Another controversy erupted during Hurricane Harvey in 2017, when Lakewood Church initially delayed opening its doors to displaced flood victims. As photos circulated online showing the church seemingly unaffected by flooding, social media users criticized Osteen for not immediately using the massive facility to help those in need. Osteen defended the decision, claiming the church was initially inaccessible due to flooding concerns and was always intended to serve as a shelter once other locations filled up. Under public pressure, Lakewood eventually opened its doors, but the delayed response left many questioning the priorities of Osteen and his ministry. Osteen's prosperity gospel teachings have also been heavily criticized by religious leaders, including Pope Francis, who called this message a pseudo-gospel. Osteen has remained largely silent on direct theological critiques, instead focusing on spreading his core message of hope and positivity. While he avoids engaging in public debates about his teachings, he often reiterates that his goal is to inspire people to live their best lives and to trust God for blessings. Despite the backlash, Osteen continues to reach millions through his sermons, books, and broadcasts. His response to criticism has been to stay focused on his vision, avoiding confrontations, and doubling down on his message of optimism. For his supporters, this resilience is evidence of his faith. For his critics, it raises further questions about accountability and the true priorities of his ministry. Hurricane Harvey controversy. In August 2017, Hurricane Harvey devastated Texas, leaving thousands of people displaced and in desperate need of shelter and assistance. During this time of crisis, many churches and community centers across Houston opened their doors to provide relief. However, Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church, a massive facility with a 16,000-seat capacity, remained closed in the initial days of the disaster, sparking widespread outrage and criticism. The controversy began when photos surfaced on social media showing the church seemingly unaffected by flooding, despite statements from Lakewood representatives claiming the facility was inaccessible due to the storm. Many people questioned why one of the largest churches in the United States, with vast resources at its disposal, was not immediately offering shelter to those in need. Critics saw this as inconsistent with the Christian values of compassion and service that Osteen preaches in his sermons. Joel Osteen and Lakewood Church defended their actions, stating that the church had always planned to open as a shelter once other facilities filled up. Osteen explained that safety concerns and initial reports of flooding near the church delayed their ability to act. However, this explanation did little to calm the backlash, as public frustration grew with each passing day. Social media users were particularly harsh, accusing Osteen of prioritizing his church's image over helping the community. Under mounting public pressure, Lakewood Church finally opened its doors on August 28th, several days after the storm hit. The church provided much-needed shelter, food, and supplies to hundreds of flood victims. Despite these efforts, many felt that the initial hesitation overshadowed the good Lakewood eventually did. The delayed response became a symbol of what critics see as the prosperity gospel's focus on personal gain over selfless service. Ironically, less than a year later, the city of Houston honored Joel Osteen and Lakewood Church for their contributions to recovery efforts. Yet, for many, the controversy surrounding Hurricane Harvey left a lasting mark on Osteen's reputation. It reignited debates about the prosperity gospel and whether its emphasis on material blessings and personal success aligns with the core principles of Christianity. The Hurricane Harvey controversy remains a key moment in Joel Osteen's career. It highlighted the tensions between his message of hope and positivity and the public's expectations of religious leaders during times of crisis. For some, it raised important questions about what it truly means to serve others in faith. Pope Francis's warning against false promises. Pope Francis has been a vocal opponent of what he calls false promises within Christianity, messages that distort the faith and lead people away from its true meaning. One of his strongest critiques has been aimed at the prosperity gospel, a belief system promoted by preachers like Joel Osteen, which equates faith with financial success and personal achievement. For Pope Francis, this way of thinking is not only misleading, but also dangerous, as it shifts the focus of Christianity from humility, love, and service to materialism and self-interest. In 2018, Pope Francis made his stance on the prosperity gospel crystal clear. Through a Vatican-approved Jesuit journal, he called it a pseudo-gospel that distorts the teachings of Christ. He warned that this belief system creates a false narrative, suggesting that faith is a transaction where blessings, especially material wealth, are rewards for prayer and generosity. Francis argued that this approach alienates the poor, making them feel as though their struggles are a result of weak faith or lack of divine favor. He reminded Christians that Jesus himself led a life of humility, poverty, and service, and never promised wealth to his followers. Pope Francis's warning wasn't just about theology. It was also a defense of the Church's mission to care for the marginalized. He emphasized that Christianity should focus on compassion, social justice, and helping those in need. By promoting wealth as a sign of God's favor, the prosperity gospel risks creating a divide between the rich and the poor, undermining the core values of the faith. Francis made it clear that faith isn't about accumulating riches, but about living with love, humility, and a commitment to others. The Pope also addressed the lifestyles of prosperity gospel preachers, many of whom live in luxury while preaching about blessings. While Francis doesn't view wealth itself as sinful, he believes teaching others that material success is proof of faith crosses a dangerous line. He warned that this mindset promotes individualism and greed, steering people away from the communal and selfless nature of Christianity. Pope Francis's warning is a call to return to the roots of faith, serving others, embracing humility, and rejecting the distractions of false promises. His message challenges Christians to focus on love, mercy, and action, rather than superficial measures of success. Impact on modern Christianity. Modern Christianity has been profoundly shaped by two highly influential leaders, Pope Francis and Joel Osteen, whose contrasting approaches to faith have sparked ongoing debates about the role of spirituality, wealth, and service in today's world. Both men have had a significant impact on millions of followers, but their differing messages highlight a broader division within Christianity, challenging believers to reflect on what it means to live out their faith in modern times. Pope Francis, as the leader of the Catholic Church, has consistently pushed for a return to the core values of Christianity, humility, compassion, and service to others. His simple lifestyle and commitment to helping the poor have redefined what it means to be a religious leader. By rejecting the lavish traditions often associated with the papacy, Francis has demonstrated that faith is not about power or wealth, but about love and mercy. His focus on social justice, care for the environment, and advocacy for the marginalized has inspired people worldwide to embrace a more selfless and community-driven faith. On the other hand, Joel Osteen, a prominent televangelist and leader of Lakewood Church, has introduced a very different interpretation of Christianity through the prosperity gospel. Osteen preaches that faith, positivity, and generosity can lead to personal success and material blessings. His polished sermons and best-selling books have attracted a global audience, offering a message of hope and encouragement, particularly to those struggling with life's challenges. However, his critics argue that this approach reduces Christianity to a transactional relationship with God, where faith is equated with financial success. The tension between these two leaders reflects a broader divide within Christianity. Pope Francis emphasizes humility, urging believers to prioritize helping the poor and addressing social inequalities. In contrast, Osteen's message focuses on personal prosperity, which some say risks overshadowing the communal and self-sacrificial aspects of the faith. For instance, controversies surrounding Osteen's delayed response during Hurricane Harvey and his luxurious lifestyle have fueled criticism that the prosperity gospel prioritizes individual gain over collective responsibility. Despite their differences, both Francis and Osteen have left a lasting mark on modern Christianity. Pope Francis challenges believers to return to the roots of the faith, while Osteen offers a message of optimism and personal empowerment. Together, they represent two distinct paths within Christianity, forcing followers to grapple with what truly defines their spiritual journey in today's complex and changing world. Through their influence, they have sparked important conversations about faith, service, and the role of religion in modern life.